What's up, everybody? Today we're going to be playing a little-known game by Clay Entertainment called Hot Lava. Yeah, they're the guys that made Don't Starve, so it's a really good game. It's criminally underrated. I think I'm going to make a main channel video about it pretty soon. Hopefully pretty soon. I haven't really been getting around to making main channel videos, but I plan on doing that after I put up this video. Like, I should just be working on a main channel video until it's done. I might stockpile some second channel videos for you guys just so I could like put them out each week. But dude, getting gameplay today was really hard because I kept on dying. And that is the topic of this video, death itself. Oh yeah, what a heavy-handed subject, Jake, for such a light-hearted fellow like yourself. Like, sure that you can't talk about death in such an interesting way. Yes, I can! I'm going to talk about how you specifically are going to die. And real quick, you might be thinking to yourself, nice try, man. AI is going to become a singularity overlord mindset that could discover all of science and prevent me from dying. Even if that's the case, you're still going to die in like 10,000 years when the sun explodes or something. It's probably a lot more than 10,000 years away. But let's explore the top ways that you will die based on your demographic and age group and all that stuff. So the first two sort of obvious ones that I'm just going to get out the way immediately is, you guessed it, heart disease and cancer. I mean, those really go hand in hand. Like, most of the time that somebody dies, it's a pretty safe bet that they died of either one of those. They are the deadliest diseases we got. They are staples of killing people. Right after that, you've got accidents, followed by stroke, then chronic lower respiratory diseases, Alzheimer's, diabetes, nephritis, nephrotic syndrome / nephrosis, and then chronic liver disease, and then COVID. For 2023, that's the data I got from the CDC. If you don't know, the CDC is the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. They pretty much, they get all the stats on what's the biggest disease and how are people dying, because generally people want to prevent death, you know, and I think it's good to know what you're most likely to die from, specifically in your age group, because as a matter of fact, if you're like me and you're in your like 20s, or if you're younger than that or a little older, we're going to explore how you specifically are at the most risk of dying of. First, I want to cover my age group, which has the #1 death cause being unintentional injury, which is kind of surprising, and this happens about 3 times more often than the runner-up, suicide, followed by, pretty closely, very closely, by homicide, which kind of surprised me. Like, as a 24-year-old, well, actually, I'm 23. As a 15 to 24-year-old, you're most likely to either oopsies and then you're dead, or you could get killed by somebody else or yourself. Now, out of accidents, most of it is motor vehicle accidents. That's right. If you took all of the 15 to 24-year-olds, lined them all up, and picked out all the dead ones, that's really not a pretty thing to imagine. But if you did imagine that, the leading cause of death would be motor vehicle and traffic accidents, which kind of makes sense. The thing about this one is I'm pretty sure this is the way I'm going to die. Like, it's my biggest concern as somebody in this age group, and like by the gender and race and everything. You could, if you go to the website, I will link it in the description, you can figure out what's most likely to kill you at any point in your life based on the CDC's data. But this is what I think would kill me if I were to die right now, because I'm pretty sure nobody wants to kill me, and I definitely not going to hurt myself intentionally. So I'm just gonna try to stop speeding, and I hope maybe this video encourages you to as well. Like, seriously, if I went just 10% over the speed limit, which I consider personally to be the acceptable speed limit braking, it would save me on a 30-minute commute, which is my typical commute to work. It's gonna save me like 2 minutes 44 seconds, and fatality scale roughly with the 4th power of speed. So a 10% increase, that'd be like 1.1. That translates to a 46% increase in expected death rate. And really all that 3 minutes is doing is allowing me to get to work early enough so that I could take the stairs, and the stairs are for the health because I want good health because I don't want to die later to heart disease or cancer. But is the stairs really gonna make that difference? Based on my estimations from looking around at sources online, taking the stairs gets you like 1 to 5 years. Like, it kind of depends, like the impact depends on if you aren't very active, then obviously taking the stairs is going to have a bigger impact. If you're already running marathons every week, then taking the stairs is going to be like probably what you go for anyway, but the marathons are going to be carrying the bulk of that weight. Back to the chart though, let's expand it to include all age groups, and we will see that, wow, suicide and homicide really do fall off later in life, and malignant neoplasms really shoot up on the rise. I mean, sheesh. And if you didn't know, because I didn't know, malignant neoplasms are like a bad tumor. It's just cancer, really. Something kind of interesting is when you account for all ages and sort of total them up in this last column, homicide and suicide don't even make it onto the list. Yet heart disease, cancer, then oopsies, accidents are top of the list. Now obviously these aren't like super directly preventable, unlike the speeding thing, but there are some pretty clear ways to prevent this, and I would say the number one thing you can do to avoid heart disease and cancer is just stop smoking or vaping nicotine. That addiction is just like the easiest way to get cancer. Like if I was trying to get cancer, I would just smoke a ton of cigarettes. Obviously, you would also want to be like old, because, you know, being old gets you cancer pretty quickly. Also, you want to limit your alcohol. I guess if I'm talking about what I'd do to get cancer, it would be like go outside with no sunscreen, have a completely processed food diet, especially like processed meats. I'd eat like salami or bologna every day. Those are like class 1 carcinogens. There's no doubt about it. Those things give you cancer. I would attempt to gain a lot of weight, and I would get very little sleep and try to remain stressed as much as possible. So all those things lead to cancer, metabolic syndrome, heart disease, and possible cancer links with the stress and poor sleep. Now, really, I don't mean to be a downer. I think you shouldn't like necessarily go your whole life without ever ingesting any sort of alcoholic beverage. Like, it's fine once in a while, but if you're worried about health and just curious, like, what's the best way I can go about preventing death? Don't slide down a giant mountain and run into spikes. I'm just kidding. You're gonna want to avoid alcoholic beverages, processed meat, absolutely avoid smoking/vaping, and just try to avoid a sedentary lifestyle overall. Now, interestingly, the actual number 1 cause of accident for all age groups, when you put them together, is poisoning, especially due to drugs and medicine, followed by hallucinogens. So don't go crazy with drugs either. That's my advice. I hope this little episode wasn't too macabre. It was just kind of interesting, and I love looking at statistics. So I hope everybody gets some exercise, specifically by exercising their right to smash that motherfucking like button.